Another day, another ranking, and this one's a little bit more encouraging for this upcoming season regarding Clemson Tigers football.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Clemson podcast. My name is John. I'm your host. You can follow us over on X right here at I am John Bivens. Hey, thanks so much for joining us and making Locked On Clemson your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast at and over on YouTube. We are a part of the amazing Locked On Network, where it is your team every day. Here on the Locked On Clemson podcast, you're getting three things. We're all sports, we're all passion, and we are all the time, bringing you everything you need to know regarding Clemson sports every single day. Today is Thursday, June 20th. We're going to be talking about three things. We're going to talk about how PFF released their top 25 list, and we're going to talk about where Clemson fell on there. We also went through and recapped FSU game from last year and that crushing loss, and we're going to end it with our weekly segment of Turbulent Thursdays. We are so grateful for all of our sponsors that make this show possible and making it a reality, being able to allow us to come let you know more about Clemson. And so before we dive into the topic, we just want to say this. We are grateful for all of you. We're grateful for every single one of you joining us, being a part of this community. We have been running this podcast for about 3 months now, and we've seen some growth, and we're just so grateful for it. We're grateful for our everydayers, those of you who join us every single day here on the podcast. Hey, we want to continue joining this community. So here in the next couple weeks, we are going to be launching a Discord. You'll be able to find the link here on this podcast and over on our website, on our Twitter, all that kind of stuff. So make sure when we launch that, join that community. It's going to be a spot where you can chat with Clemson fans regularly. We're just so grateful. Right now, we are trying to grow the platform more, trying to grow this fan base, grow this podcast community. So if you're not, make sure you're subscribed. We're on the road to 900 subscribers. Right now, we're at 894. We're so close. So if you haven't, please drop a subscribe. That would help us out so much. We would appreciate it. But yesterday we went through and we talked about a recent list that had Clemson ranked third in the ACC. Yesterday, that Wednesday, a new list dropped, the PFF, which is a great place. They put out all kinds of fantasy football stuff, all kinds of rankings, that kind of stuff. They released their latest power rankings and projections for the 2024 football season. And Clemson Tigers, they're in a little bit more encouraging here than the last list that we broke down on yesterday's episode, but they still got something to prove. We look at it, and what we found is, I'm not going to lie, we can't go through the entire list just because PFF, you do have to pay for a lot of their stuff. We got this list from a friend of ours that pays for it, so we did not. But they got good stuff over there. Clemson came in on this spot ranked 15th overall. We were the second highest team from the ACC. Only 3 teams made the top 25, with a fourth coming in 26. But we were 15th. Number 1 was Georgia. Number 2 was Texas, and number 3 was Michigan. The highest Clemson, or the highest ACC team, was FSU. They landed at number 7 on this list. But they went through and they ranked Clemson 15th overall. What they did is they went through and they gave each team a percentage of chance to win the ACC, therefore clinching that automatic bid for the 12-team college football playoff. And so what happened is they gave us an 8.1% chance to win the ACC. FSU doesn't have too high of a chance than we do. They only have them at 15%. Chapel Hill came in at number 25 on this list with an 8.9 chance of winning the conference. So a little bit higher than Clemson right there. And then NC State was a spot behind them at 26 with a higher chance than UNC and Clemson, falling at 11% chance to win the championship. When it comes to odds to make the playoffs, though, Clemson is 18th overall in the nation, according to them, at 21%. They're third in the conference. FSU is 41%, and North Carolina State is 23%. So what does that mean? What does that tell us? Well, it tells us this. It says that, one, people don't think Clemson Dynasty is over, but they think it's on the verge. Right now, Clemson is known for being one of the best teams in the nation for the past 5 to 6 years. Really went on a great run, probably a little bit longer than that. But what it tells us is, it tells us this. It tells us that people are not giving up completely on Clemson. Their faith isn't lost completely, but they are on that verge. It feels like top 15. It was kind of saying like, hey, Clemson's falling. if they don't do something fast, the dynasty is officially over. The run of great Clemson is officially over. But it's also saying that we're not completely out of it, that we still have a good chance, that we still have a good run. But we're excited about that. Overall, Clemson has a tough year this year. We walked through the schedule yesterday. They've got a tough year. If they want to win, if they've got to get in the playoff, if they got to get into AC championship game, we really don't have to. We can't lose more than one game. If we're a 2-loss team, it's going to be very unlikely we make it to the playoffs. And like we said, our schedule's tough. Overall, according to PFF, we have the 38th strongest schedule. Other platforms have us a lot higher than that. FSU falls at 33. Right now, Atlanta opener Georgia. Georgia leads the power rankings overall. They have a 19% chance to win the title, followed by Texas, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Oregon, Florida State, Penn State, Washington, and LSU. According to these PFF rankings, the 12-team college football playoff will be Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, and Kansas State getting the 4 byes. And then Texas, Ohio State, Alabama, Oregon, Penn State, Washington, LSU, and the group of 5 would be Troy. So that's how they have overall. That's how the college football playoff would look like to them. Going through the schedule, according to the PFF power rankings, here's who where our opponents rank. They have Georgia as the number 1 power ranking, so we open up the year against Georgia number 1. Next, we have App State, who falls at 57. NC State comes to 3rd. They have them at 26, like we said. Stanford at 109. Florida State at 7. Wake Forest 72. Virginia 101. Louisville 28. Virginia Tech 35. Pitt 74. The Citadel not ranked, and South Carolina 45. So with those rankings, we only play 3 opponents that aren't in the top 100. We play 5 teams that are in the top 50. 3 of those being in the top 30, 4 of those being in the top 30. And then all of them that are inside the top 100 are all within the top 75 as well. So tough schedule. We definitely have our work cut out for us, definitely have a challenge made. But they have us at 15th. And like we said, I think that's kind of that spot where it's like, we'll see where they go. I think our floor is a team, like absolute floor, the lowest that Clemson could be, is going to be that bouncing back and forth between top 20 to 25, and then unranked. Bouncing back and forth between those two. I don't think we're going to be a team that never gets ranked. I don't think that's ever going to be in our foreshadow or in our future if Dabo Swinney, especially with Swinney at the head coach. But our ceiling is a top team in the nation. We've seen that before. The ceiling for Clemson football is the best team in the nation because they've been there before and they can do it again. So I think that's why they came in at 15th. I think it was kind of like, is Cade going to show up? Is Dabo going to get this team back at it? Are they going to start winning how they used to, those dominating football games that we used to play? Or is it going to be a lot of mistakes, a lot of ourselves hurting ourselves over and over and over again? We have the defense to be a national champion. Our defense is stout. They are absolutely loaded. Easily the best linebacker crew in the nation. You can never count out Dabo Swinney's defensive line. Our secondary solid. So we've got a challenge. We've got a chance, but we have a challenge ahead of us. And PFF, they put us at 15. Honestly, I'm not too upset about this. A lot of people think we should be higher. A lot of people think we should be lower. I think it's a good spot. It's somewhere to work from. I think Clemson's in a great spot right now. I think this year we are going to prove that, and we will get back closer to that top run. I don't know if we'll win a national championship this year, but I do think we'll get better than we were last year. I think we'll win the ACC. I think we'll be in the college football playoffs. So excited to see. Going to be a lot of fun stuff. Speaking of ACC, we are in the middle of this series where we're going through and watching every game from last season and giving our recaps and what we learned from this. And so in just a minute, we're going to continue that as we dive into week 4 from last year against Florida State. We'll be back in just a moment. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning and championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply, and eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Make sure you get what you need for your car over at ebaymotors.com. So we're in the middle of this series. We've done 2 parts so far where we're going through and we rewatch the entire game from last year. We went through and rewatched the entire FSU game against Clemson last year, and man, it was an ugly one. It was one that we definitely should have won. We went through and we saw that. Man, it was something that it felt like we were on the verge of a great game, a great upset. So we came in this game to set the scene. First 3 weeks, our special teams was rough, missing field goals left and right. We had a freshman kicker in there. And so Dabo went out and got a transfer graduate who was already working, but because he's still enrolled at a NCAA school, he was able to come in and play. So he joined us on Monday and then had a game on Saturday. Or actually, he got reached out to Dabo on Monday, had a game on Saturday where he started, Jonathan White's. So game started off hot. Clemson moved the ball, played well. FSU didn't really have a great offensive run, but started off hot. Jonathan Witz kicked a field goal. We led 3-0 at the end of the first quarter. Start off the second quarter with Cade Klubnik, a little QB sneak, got a 1-yard run touchdown. That was nice. Keon Coleman had a 7-yard pass from Jordan Travis in the second quarter where they scored there. Will Shipley had a 10-yard pass later on in the second quarter for Clemson to go up 17-7. And then as the half almost expired, Jordan Travis scored a touchdown run with just under 2 minutes left to take it 17-14. So Clemson went in halftime up 3, and it felt like it could have been more. This team was moving. Cade was playing the ball well. He was honestly playing really well. We were excited to see it. Was making the passes he needed, was making the right reads. Sometimes he'd keep it when he should have passed it. Sometimes he'd run it when he should have passed it. But overall, Cade was playing well. It was exciting to see. It was something that it felt good. Walking through this game, it felt like, oh, we're going to do it. We're going to upset the number 4 in the nation. It's going to happen. Second half started. Jordan Travis led them on a decent run. They kicked a field goal to tie it up in their first possession. Clemson got the ball back, marched it down, punted it away. FSU punted it back. We got the ball, went 11 plays for 77 yards, which ended with a Will Shipley touchdown run, and that was with 3 minutes left in the third. After that, both offenses really died down. It became a punting game. It became one that neither offense really scored. For the entire game, neither offense scored the rest of the regular possession. Late in the third quarter, Cade Klubnik had the ball, dropped back in a pass, and he got hit hard. I mean, hard. I'm just going to say that again. Cade Klubnik got laid out. Go back and watch that. He was dropped back in the pocket. He was about at the 45-yard line. And so he dropped back in the pocket, was looking downfield, and somebody came from his side. It wasn't the blind side. He's holding the ball like this. He could have looked this way. The play's that way. He could have looked like this. And there's a guy running full steam. He did not. He got hit like it was a blindside hit. Absolutely demolished, and a legal hit. Very legal. Textbook play. Face mask in the chest, right? Hit how you should. Caused him to fumble the ball. He lost it. And Kalen DeLoach picked up the ball, scoop and score for 56 yards for them to tie it up. And that was with 31 seconds left in the third quarter. Fourth quarter, Clemson started making a run, started looking great, and then we lost the ball again. Stopped them back and forth, though, kept them from scoring. So game went into overtime, 24-24. First or second play in overtime, FSU's got the ball. And I'm going to rewind a little bit. Nate Wiggins got hurt on a fourth down play late in the fourth quarter. So he's the star cornerback. He is the one that was drafted in the first round this offseason. So losing him definitely hurts. But in that game, he got hurt. Number 10 for Clemson came in, and this is a backup cornerback playing in the game, replacing Nate Wiggins. And for some reason, our defensive coordinator decided to line up our backup cornerback on their best wide receiver, one-on-one on the outside. Second play of the game of overtime, Jordan Travis drops back, throws one deep, and they scored a touchdown on the second play. Clemson gets the ball, got to score. Half score, kick a touch or kick an extra point to keep that overtime going. And runs a play, doesn't get anything. Runs a play, doesn't get anything. Runs a play, doesn't get anything. So it's 4th and 1. And I don't understand why they called 3 run plays right there. The passing game was on. We'll go through stats in a minute, but Cabe was doing well pass it. Give him a chance. But they didn't. They ran it. 4th and 1 came. They ran a little RPO option that they play so much, a run pass option. Cade Klubnik kept the ball, instead passed it, and when he passed it, there was a little bit of contact, but it was within 5 yards. It was just way over his head, way behind the receiver. Turnover on downs, into the game. Florida State beat us in overtime. That game was crushing because it felt just like the Duke game. We should have won it. We should have won that game. There's no reason we should have lost that game. We're going to go through stats real quick, and then we'll talk about what it really showed us about this team. So, Florida State passing, Jordan Travis went 21 for 37, 289 yards, 2 touchdowns. Cade Klubnik went 25 for 38, 283 yards, 1 touchdown. So very comparable stats, very comparable day for him. Rushing ball, Phil Maffa, 10 carries, 69 yards. Will Shipley, 18 carries, 67 yards. Technically, with all the sacks, Cade Klubnik had 13 rushes for 10 yards. Florida State rushing, though, we shut down the rush game. I mean, absolutely shut it down. They had a total of 20 carries for 22 yards, 7 carries for 25 yards by Trey Benson. The Nets leading running back had 1 yard for 3 carries, and then 2 different players were in negatives with Jordan Travis and Jaheim Bell. Both had negative 2 yards on the day. Overall, defense played really well for us. Receiving wise, that's where we didn't play too hot. Johnny Wilson, 5 receptions, 94 yards. Keon Coleman, 5 receptions, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. They had a third player at 50 yards with Trey Benson, 3 receptions, 50 yards. Our receivers, less spread out. Our leading receiver is Tyler Brown with 5 receptions, 84 yards. He missed part of the game due to an injury after a diving catch. Jake Brenningstool, our tight end, had 3 receptions, 47 yards. Troy Stellato and Will Shipley both had 4 receptions for right around 40 yards. So less spread out there. Fumbles, we did lose 2. We had 2 fumbles. Cade Klubnik had 2 fumbles on the day. One of those he lost. One was on a poor handoff. Again, looked very similar to the Duke game, a missed handoff with Will Shipley. Will thought he was taking it. Cade Klubnik thought he was pulling it back, and it just fumbled it. And then he lost that one that we talked about on the sack. When it comes to kick returns, Will Shipley had nothing big to reach out about. Had 2 kickoff returns, 46 yards. They didn't have any. Our kickoff did touchback every single time. And that was the game. Our field goals, this was hurt, and we skipped over this for a reason. What did this game show us? What did this game go through? And when we're looking back at this game, what did it show us? Well, one, it showed us our special teams still hurt. We brought Jonathan Wheats in. He made his first field goal, and then he came in, and he was supposed, fourth quarter, we had the ball, Clemson has the ball, with a 29-yard kick or field goal attempt with 2.5 minutes left. It's a tie ball game, fourth quarter, 24-24. We march down the field, have a 29-yard field goal attempt in between the hash marks, as nice a kick as you can ask for. Short chip shot, and this is the win. Like, if we kick this and we stop them, we win this game. We win in the overtime 24-24, and they had a chance to run it back, and we didn't let them kick a field goal. So we would have won this game if he makes this. But instead, kicks it plenty of distance, and it just misses left. Our special teams hurt. With all the missed field goals in the Duke game, with missed field goal in this game to win, it was showing that our place kicker was going to be a problem this year. And that was true. We looked through the rest of the season, that remained true. Other problems was, again, as we talked about last year, Cade Klubnik and his eyes. He targets in on 1 or 2 receivers, and he stares them down the entire play till he passes it away. Our rushing team was all right, but this one, my biggest hesitation marks was, one, Cade's decision-making. There was a couple of plays. He pulled the ball, and he should have ran it. He should have passed it, but he pulled it. Others, our offensive play call. I know Garrett Riley's a great coach. Love that he's our offensive coordinator, but he made some decisions that I was just like, why did we run the ball when we should have passed it more? That RPO on 4th and 1, Why not? You've already ran it enough. Will Shipley can get 1 yard. Phil Maffa can get 1 yard. Hand the ball off and let him go and get it. I don't understand that there. So different play call systems they are worried about. Our defense looked decent. We played number 4 in the nation against a really good quarterback. And we only gave up 24 points. And one of those touchdowns was a fumble return. So we really only gave up 2 touchdowns and 1 field goal to one of the best offenses in the nation. So just proving our point still, our defense is stout. Rushing yards, 22 rushing yards for the game on 20 carries. You got to be happy with that. Got to be excited. But overall, that was the game. It was a crushing loss, and we lost that, leaving us at 2-2 after 4 weeks. Again, we're gonna walk through week 5 on an upcoming episode soon. But yeah, we went 2-2, lost that game to Florida State, and it was crushing. When we come back, we're gonna dive into our weekly segment of our Turbulent Thursdays. We'll be back in just a moment. And here we are back on the Locked On Clemson podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. And so we're here. Every day we have a regular segment that we try to do every single day throughout the week. Momentum Monday, Tracking Tuesday, Worried Wednesday, Flashback Friday, and today is Turbulent Thursday. What is Turbulent Thursday, you ask? Well, what it is it's a hot take. We go through and we give our hot takes. We look through Twitter. We look through our comments on YouTube. We look through everything we can find on Clemson, and we see what are the hot takes. What are people saying that is just not true? And so there's 2 big comments today that I really want to dive in and focus in on. The first one is this. On YouTube, our comments on YouTube and overall at Twitter, we're seeing so many people say this program is done. And I just don't understand. I don't understand how people can say that when we're still producing bowl game victories. Our 2025 class is a top 5 recruiting class in the nation. Right, last time I checked, it was a top 3. We're recruiting the best players of the best players. And I get transfer portal. Dabo's got to do more there. We've got to bring in transfers. But at the same time, when you're bringing in the best players in the recruiting class and you're developing them really well, why do you need to bring in less talented players when they're not even going to play in the first place? Now, am I saying there was no players that should have came in? No, not at all. I'm not saying there was no players that should have came in and started. There was definitely players that could have came in and helped us. But at the end of the day, we have great recruiting classes. We have great coaching. We have talented players, top recruiting classes every single year. We've got a great program. Honestly, I think the transfer portal is a reason why we have a top recruiting class next year, because players know they're not going to have to worry if they sit freshman year. They're not going to have to worry about someone coming in and take their spot sophomore year or junior year after they've grinded for a couple of years. They know they're going to get their shot if they're coming to Clemson. And I think that speaks volumes. I think that's why we're recruiting so well next year. I think that's why we're recruiting well for 2026. But I just don't understand when people are saying our program is done. I don't understand it because, yeah, we've had a couple rough years. We talked about our QBR ranking, or quarterback rating from 2016 to 2019 was a 3rd in the nation. Then from 2020 to last year, it was 74th in the nation. That's a big drop. I'm not saying it's not. That's a huge drop in quarterback play. But Cade Klubnik came in as highly rated as Deshaun Watson, higher than Deshaun Watson, not as high as Trevor Lawrence, but he came in super high rated. If he played to who he was supposed to be, Clemson would be up there. Our defense hasn't fell off. Our receivers have a little bit, but they're great this year. You can't say a program's dead and a program has died after one bad year, or 2 or 3 bad years. When considering our bad year was still 9 wins. Now, if we went 8, or if we went 500, if we were a losing record, if we lost, if we didn't make it to a good bowl game, if we hadn't been to the playoffs in 5 years, then that's one thing. But we've been to the playoffs 3 years ago. 2 years ago. We've been in the playoffs. We've been to bowl games. We won 10 games for how many years straight? It's been how many years since we won only 8 games? Before Dabo Swinney was the last time we only won 8 games. This program's not dead. Saying that is just envious. It's jealous friends that don't understand college football. The second comment that I'm seeing a lot, and that's on YouTube videos, that's on other places, is people saying that if Clemson went to the SEC, they get demolished. Let's just pull up stats. Instead of just saying that, instead of just blindly throwing out comments, let's look what the stats say. In the last 20 games against the SEC, Clemson has went 14-6. Is that an outstanding record? No, that's not something to be like, oh yeah, we're 14-6. No, you don't want to brag about that, but you do want to say, hey, yeah, we're not going to get demolished. We went to the SEC, that 14-6. You also got to look at who those against. You want to know who our 6 losses were against? You ready for them? Here's our 6 losses. We lost to Tennessee last year against the Orange Bowl, which was a great team. Or I'm sorry, that was 2022. Lost to Tennessee in the Orange Bowl. That was a tough game. Now, I'll admit, that one we should have won. That was embarrassing. We lost to South Carolina. Another embarrassing one, I'll give it. But that was a 1-point game, and that rivalry game, you never know who's going to win. We lost to LSU, the champion in the college football championship. We lost to Alabama in 2018 in the Sugar Bowl, and we lost to Alabama by 5 points in the college football championship game. So out of our losses, one was an Orange Bowl, and one was an Orange Bowl, one was Sugar Bowl, and 2 were in the college football championship. That should show that should show. Yeah, we're 14-6, but 4 of those was in the postseason, and 2 of them was against Alabama, the best team in the nation since the last 2 decades. We're not terrible in the SEC. We lost to LSU, champion, Alabama, champion, Alabama, Sugar Bowl champion, and Tennessee, a great team. Our 14-6 one was a rivalry game, and the rest was a bowl game. I'm sorry, I'm also forgetting Georgia. I'm forgetting 2021 Georgia when we didn't allow an offensive touchdown by the best offensive team that year. 2021, we started the season against Georgia. We lost 3-10, and they didn't score a touchdown offensively. Their only touchdown was on defensive side. Against the best offensive team in the nation, we shut them down. This proves it. If we went to the SEC, we would be a top 3 team every single year. And I'm marking that down. I'm claiming it. Right now we would. People say that we're going to get demolished. People say that the SEC is so much better. Overall, we're not. You're not, though. That's the thing. You can say that all you want. It's not true. It's not the case at all. And it's in the 2020s, we're 3-3 since 2020. And this has been our roughest stretch. You can ask, since 2021 to 2024 has been our roughest stretch of football in a while. And we're still 500 against SEC opponents. 2010s, we were 64%. 2000s, we were 52%. So overall in the 2000s, we're over 50% win percentage, which means we're winning more than we lose. We would not get demolished in the SEC. We would be one of the best teams, hands down, because the majority of the time the opponents we're playing are the best teams in the ACC or in the SEC that are in the playoffs or in bowl games. So we have a winning percentage over the best teams in the SEC. And you're going to say we go to the SEC and get demolished? Nah, garbage take. Garbage take. That one's a hot take. Usually I'm show respect on these takes. Usually I show a little bit of respect for people's opinions. Nah, that's garbage. And that's not a fan saying. This isn't a Clemson bias coming out. This is me being honest, pulling up the stats, pulling up literally the past results. You can't argue with me over gameplay, over tape. You can't argue with me over what you think. Argue with the facts, and the facts say Clemson would demolish the SEC. Just want to throw that out. Hope you're happy with that. Hope you appreciate that take. But gosh, those fire me up. If you couldn't tell, a little emotional there. That one, those a little bother me a little bit. But anyway, with all that being said, that's going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Clemson podcast. Hey, thanks so much for joining us. We would really appreciate hearing your thoughts. Drop a comment. Hit us up on Twitter. You never know. If you give a hot enough take, might appear next Thursday. We'll see. Could be. But anyway, we'd love to hear your thoughts on all this. What's your thoughts on the SEC drama with Clemson? What's your thoughts on the FSU loss from last year? And do you think 15th is a good spot for us to be ranked? We'd love to have a conversation. Love to have a little bit of comments back and forth regarding those 3. But if you're not, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast wherever you get your podcast and over on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. We're so close to 900 over there. That way, every single day, this can be your first listen here on the Locked On Clemson podcast. We cannot wait to see you on tomorrow's episode. But until then, keep that Tiger pride alive and roaring. And as always, go Tigers.